Writing the methods section of a scientific report is the easiest section to write, but you need to know what to write and when to write it. This is a 3-step process that I follow whenever I'm writing my method sections, and at the end of this video I'll go through a checklist that you can apply whenever you're writing your own method section. And remember, a method section is just a recipe. This is about what you did, how you did it, and what you used to do it. Step 1 is to talk about samples. This is the what, the where and when, and the who. So the what is your data? What are the actual samples that you collected? For example, I'm a geologist, I would go out and collect rocks. Maybe you collect survey responses. Or for example, in my undergrad in second year, I had to go to a park and look up in a certain type of tree and count how many mistletoe plants I could find. And the study was about mistletoe birds. But that's my sample. It's the number of mistletoe plants in a certain type of tree. So it's quite detailed. You then want to incorporate in that your sample size. Let's say I go into the field, but I collect rocks from 8 different locations in cliff type setting. And I collect my rocks from 1 meter intervals. And that gives me samples that total maybe 93 samples. You then want to make sure you have the when and the where. So I have to put what country I'm in. Am I in Tanzania? Am I in Australia? And then begin to get more specific. What region was I in, or county or suburb or state? Right down into, was I even a river cutting? And what was the name of that river? And then I would also have to put my GPS coordinates. Now let's say your study was completely done online, you still have to put the where. There's still a location in the digital world. So was it at one website? Was it a few different websites? Did you use email outreach? Where did you collect that data from? Then you have to have the who. So did you do the study? I think most of the time we do our own studies, but maybe there was a group of you or a couple of universities working together. So you need to have that there as well. Step 2 is the sampling procedure. This is the how. And in this section, you need to have your tools, materials, and equipment that you used. So again, I'm a geologist. So when I go into the field, I use a rock hammer, a compass, sample bags, and maybe I had to dig down into a pit, or maybe I had to dig into a cliff. I'd put all those details down. Perhaps you ran an experiment, so you'd have to put the brand of centrifuge tubes that you used, or were they glass, or were they plastic, or did you use test tubes? And include what equipment you used as well here. So what type of machines in the lab did you use? In this section, you need to have what factors or variables that you collected as well. So again, in my work, I don't just go out and collect a big chunk of rock, right? I also take data on what was the color of the rock, what minerals were in it, and then what percentage of those minerals. So how much of mineral X versus mineral Y was in that rock. I have to put that down. Let's say you do survey responses. Well, you would put down, did you collect age, education level, place of birth? All those sorts of things have to go into this section. And make sure you write your procedure in the order that you did it, so it's in chronological order. So for example, yes, I go out into the field, so I put that down first and I collect my rocks, but then I always come back and I do laboratory analyses on my rocks, so I put that second. Step 3 is data analysis. Now the first 2 steps were about data collection, but step 3 is where you analyze your data or your results. And so the first thing to include here is how you cleaned up your data. All data needs cleaning up. So maybe you just remove some outliers, or maybe you ranked your data and that's actually what you're going to use for your results. Or maybe you compiled your data from multiple different sources. You have to pop that in here. Then pop down, did you use any statistics? And also include what statistic you did and justify the use of those statistics. So was your data normally distributed, for example? In my work, I use a lot of mathematical modeling, so I'd have to be really detailed here and put down the exact equations that I used and then cite the people where I got that from, or that model from. In this section, you need to pop the hardware and the software down that you used, including the version number. This is really important. You can imagine in the future they discover an error in a particular software version, or perhaps the entire software package becomes redundant. Then people can come along, take the data from your study and put it into a newer version or a newer software package to get new results that can potentially change the entire implications of your study. So this is really important for the future. Be as detailed as you can with your software. Okay, let's go through that checklist now. Number 1, make sure your method section is in the past tense, right? You've already done the work, you're just writing about it. Number 2, make sure you cite people. This is not like the results where you rarely cite people. In your methods section, you should have a lot of citations, right? Very rarely do we come up with our methods off the top of our heads. We're using other people's work to do our own. Number 3, make sure that you're consistent with your pronoun use throughout your methods section. You can use things like I, we, or this study, but make sure you're consistent throughout. Number 4, make sure you're consistent with your use of subtitles. Maybe you don't have subtitles and that's okay too. For example, in my work, I use around 3 subtitles, and it's usually field/sampling, laboratory analyses, and data analyses. You will have ones that suit your own work, or potentially you'll have none, especially if your study is small. I mean, in some instances, an entire methods section might only be 1 paragraph, so it's perfectly okay not to have any subtitles. But whatever you do, don't have 1 subtitle. You may as well just have methods. right? Then you want to make sure that you've linked each of your methods with one of your aims. So for example, we calculated average rainfall from XYZ data, right? You're not just saying we collected XYZ data, you're saying why you did it in there. And that will link back to your introduction, which you'll write later. And with it, the last part of your checklist is to make sure that you started your method section before any other section of your scientific report, right? It's the easiest section to write, always write it first. Then after the methods, you want to write your results section because that section pretty much writes itself. So if you're at that point, watch this video next.